गोपी जनवल्लभा जय गिरिवरधारी। गोपी जनवल्लभा जय गिरिवरधारी। यशोदनन्दना व्रजजनरञ्जना यशोदनन्दना व्रजजनरञ्जना यमुना तीरवनचारी जय कुंज विहारी। यमुना तीरवनचारी जय कुंज विहारी। जय राधा माधवा जय कुंज विहारी। गोपी जान वल्लभा जय गिरिवरधारी। यशोदनन्दना व्रजजनरञ्जना यमुना तीरवनचारी जय कुंज विहारी। जय राधा माधवा जय कुंज विहारी। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। जय राधा वृंदावन चंद्र राधा वृंदावन चंद्र राधे। जय राधे जय राधे जय राधे राधे श्री राधे। जय वृंदावन धाम वृंदावन धाम वृंदावन धाम जय कृष्ण बलराम। जय निताई गौरांग निताई गौरांग निताई गौरांग जय निताई गौरांग। जय जय प्रभुपाद 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 प्रभुपाद।
की जय। इस्कॉन फाउंडर आचार्य बीबीटी फाउंडर आचार्य श्री द होल वर्ल्ड जगत गुरु श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। जयम विष्णुपाद नितलील प्रविष्ट हिज डिवाइन ग्रेस भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती ठाकुर महाराज की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। नामाचार्य श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की जय। षड गोस्वामी प्रभु की जय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासदि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय। निताई गौर प्रेमानंदे। All glories to assembled devotees, all glories to assembled devotees, all glories to assembled devotees, all glories to Shri Shri Guru and Gauranga, all glories to Srila Prabhupada की जय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd canto, 1st chapter, text number 45. Tasya prapanna akhila lokapanam. Tasya prapanna akhila lokapanam. Avasthitam anushasane स्वे अवस्थितानाम अनुशासने स्वे अर्थाय जातस्य यदुषु अजस्य अर्थाय जातस्य यदुषु अजस्य वार्तां सखे कीर्तया तीर्थकीर्तेः। वार्तां सखे कीर्तया तीर्थकीर्तेः। तस्य प्रपन्न अखिल लोकपानां अवस्थितानाम अनुशासने स्वे अर्थाय जातस्य यदुषु अजस्य वार्तां सखे कीर्तया तीर्थकीर्तेः। Tasya his prapanna surrendered akhila lokapanam, all rulers of the entire universe, avasthitanam, situated in anushasane, under the control of swe, own self, arthaya, for the interest of jatasya, of the born, yadusu, in the family of the yadus, ajasya, of the unborn, vartam, topics, sakhe, O my friend, kirtaya, please narrate, tirtha kirtehe, of the Lord, whose glories are chanted in the places of pilgrimage. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation. O my friend, please therefore chant the glories of the Lord, who is meant to be glorified in the places of pilgrimage. He is unborn, and yet he appears by his causeless mercy upon the surrendered rulers of all parts of the universe. Only for their interest did he appear in the family of his unalloyed devotees, the Yadus. Kindly repeat the translation. O my friend, please therefore chant the glories of the Lord, who is meant to be glorified in the places of pilgrimage. He is unborn, and yet he appears by his causeless mercy upon the surrendered rulers of all parts of the universe. Only for their interest did he appear in the family of his unalloyed devotees, the Yadus. Purport by Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. There are innumerable rulers all over the universe in different varieties of planets. The sun god in the sun planet, the moon god in the moon planet, Indra in the heavenly planet, Vayu, Varuna, and those in the Brahmaloka planet where Lord Brahma is living. All are obedient servants of the Lord. Whenever there is any trouble in the administration of the innumerable planets in different universes, the rulers pray for an appearance, and the Lord appears. The Bhagavatam 1.3.28 has already confirmed this in the following verses. Ete chamsha kalaha pumsaha Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam Indrari Vyakulam Lokam Mridayanti Yuge Yuge. In every millennium, whenever there is any trouble for the obedient rulers, the Lord appears. He also appears for the sake of his pure unalloyed devotees. The surrendered rulers and the pure devotees are always strictly under the control of the Lord, and they are never disobedient to the desire of the Lord. The Lord is therefore always attentive to them. The purpose of pilgrimages is to remember the Lord constantly, and therefore the Lord is known as Tirtha Kirti. The purpose of going to a place of pilgrimage is to get the chance to glorify the Lord. Even today, all the times have changed. There are still pilgrimage sites in India. For example, in Mathura and Vrindavan, where we had a chance to stay, people are awake from early in the morning at 4 a.m. up until night time and are constantly engaged some way or other in chanting the holy glories of the Lord. The beauty of such a pilgrimage site is that automatically one remembers the holy glories of the Lord. His name, fame, quality, form, pastimes and interage are all identical to the Lord. And therefore, Chanting the glories of the Lord invokes the personal presence of the Lord. Anytime or anywhere pure devotees meet and chant the glories of the Lord is present without any doubt. It is said by the Lord himself that he always stays where his pure devotees chant his glories. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport of the third canto, first chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled Questions by Vidura. Om Ajnanatirmirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishthaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Iti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shrivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. So these are the descriptions of talk between Vidura and Uddhava. Vidura has just returned after his pilgrimage, and on the pretext of not participating in that war, and on the pretext that he was insulted by Dhritarashtra and his sons, Vidura went out on a pilgrimage. So after he is returning, he wants to know what exactly happened after the battle of Kurukshetra. So he is a great devotee of the Lord. We understand Vidura is a great devotee. It's called Mahatma Vidura. Even though he stays and he had association of such a crooked person like Dhritarashtra and his sons, who designed the whole battle of Mahabharata. But still we find that there is a purpose behind that. Vidura, factually we will see, with his great devotion, he will be able to liberate even such a personality like Dhritarashtra with his good instructions. So he is a great devotee of the Lord, and practically he is so many questions he is asking about the Supreme Lord and his different associates. This is the characteristic of a pure devotee of the Lord, that when he returned, you can ask, this whole chapter is questions by Vidura. He is so much absorbed in the thoughts of the Lord that he is inquiring everything pertaining to the Lord, his pastimes, his different devotees, the welfare of them, everything. And we will also see Uddhava in turn is another great devotee of the Lord, and his description will be given in the starting from next chapter, that how he would be so much absorbed in the thoughts of the Lord that he will forget even his food. So he was also another great devotee of the Lord, and when he was asked these questions, he could not speak for some time. He was completely immersed in ecstasy of the Lord, in the thoughts of the Lord when he heard. So this is another symptom of a pure devotee of the Lord, that whenever they hear the pastimes or anything in relation with the Supreme Lord, they are completely ecstatic. So here, after inquiring and asking many questions, Vidura is saying that, my dear Uddhava, please describe the glories of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Because whatever he has asked constitutes the glories of the Lord. The glories of devotees of the Lord is also glories of the Lord. He has asked about the Pandavas, he has asked about the welfare of all others. So, anything in relation with the Supreme Lord is glorious. So, he is saying that the Supreme Lord, tasya prapanna akhila loka panam. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, he appears for the welfare of all the rulers of all the different planets. Not just this earthly planet. Prabhupada is describing in the purport, there is sun planet, there is moon planet, there is Brahmaloka, there are many other different planets. And all these different rulers, they are surrendered devotees of the Lord. Not all of them may be pure devotees of the Lord. Just like Indra may not be the pure devotee of the Lord. But they're all surrendered to the Lord. So, tasya prapanna akhila loka pana. Akhila loka pana means in this creation, akhila, there are so many different rulers, but they're all prapannam. They're all surrendered to the wish of the Supreme Lord. This is the difference between the Devatas and Asuras. Asuras are not surrendered to the wish of the Lord. Devatas are surrendered to the wish of the Lord. They do not want to do anything which is against the wish of the Lord. So they are called as surrendered. So, for their sake, avasthitanam anushashane sve. They are all under the control of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Anushashane means they are under the rule of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Arthaya jatasya yadushu ajasya. And even though the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he is ajasya, he does not take any birth. He has no birth. But for the sake of these personalities, his surrendered rulers who are ruling on behalf of the Supreme Lord, he does take birth. So, arthaya means for the sake of, jatasya, he takes birth, yadusu ajasya, in the family of Yadu he took birth, ajasya, even though he has no birth. Vartam sakhe, O my dear friend Uddhava, the glories of the Supreme Lord, Krishna Katha, Vartam means discussions, pastimes about the Supreme Lord. Kirtaye, please glorify. You see. Tirtha kirtehe, because the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he is the one who is glorified, especially in tirthas, in the place of pilgrimages. So this is a very nice verse by Vidura. He is asking these things. So there are many important things which we can try to understand in this verse. Recently I was reading Krishna book. So there I came across one very beautiful prayers by Lord Brahma. So we see that Lord Brahma, he was bewildered. That Leela is called as Brahma Vimohana Leela, wherein when he came out from his planet to see so much glories of the Supreme Lord, the Lord has just killed Aghasura, that python demon who was in the form of a python. And all the great demigods, they are celebrating the killing of Aghasura. They are blowing on their bugles and beating on their drums, and apsaras are dancing in the heavenly planets. So Brahma became inquisitive, what is happening? And he came out to see. So he saw that the small child, the Supreme Lord in the form of child, he has just killed Aghasura. So he was very surprised. Later on he reveals that actually he was thinking Krishna to be somebody like a village boy, uneducated. So he wanted to show his powers and wanted to see the powers of the Supreme Lord in front of his powers. So what he did, he immediately put a spell of Maya and stole away the calves of the Lord. So the Lord was tending his calves. Actually, they were taking their lunch at that time. They had come for a picnic. So they were taking their lunch. Krishna was in the center, and all the cowherd boys had surrounded him. So Prabhupada explains, actually this should be, one should take this lesson from the people of Vrajavasis, that even while they were eating their lunch, they put Krishna in the center. So Prabhupada says, when you put Krishna in center of all your activities, your all activities will become wonderful. They'll be glorified. So we have to learn from Vrajavasis how to put Krishna in center of all our activities, whatever we do. So Krishna was eating in the center, and all his cowherd boys' friends, they have surrounded him. And the example is given, it is just like the middle portion of the lotus and surrounding petals of the lotus. Krishna is like that middle portion of that lotus, and all the cowherd boys, they have surrounded him like that. And everyone is looking at Krishna, that whether Krishna is looking at me. Everyone, from all the sides. Actually, this is how, when everybody is in a circle, they can see Krishna. Isn't it? So everybody is thinking that maybe Krishna will look at me. And they're eating their food, sharing with him. Krishna, please take this. My mother has prepared for you specially. And they're giving to Krishna. And Krishna is taking from all of them and eating. So at that time, what happened? Suddenly these calves, they all went a little deep in the forest. And they were in anxiety. Immediately the cowherd boys, they were thinking that what is going to happen, where have they gone? So Krishna did not want to put them in anxiety at all. Krishna, Prabhupada says, never likes to put his pure devotees, his devotees in anxieties. He takes the anxieties. He did not want them to take any anxiety. Krishna got up immediately with food in his hand. Bhagavatam describes very nicely. Krishna had the preparation of curd rice. There was rice, preparation of rice, mixed with curds and fruits, just like in South India we take curd rice mixed with fruits. So Mother Yashoda had given that preparation and Krishna was holding that in his hand. And with that in his hand, the Lord got up, did not even finish his meal, and he went for searching these calves. So Krishna also went deep in the forest. He looked inside the caves, he looked on the top of the mountains. Nowhere they were to be seen. Of course, Bhagavatam describes that he is all cognizant, he knows everything. But for the sake of the Leela, he is playing like a small village boy. So as if he is searching for his calves and he does not know. So then, of course, then he figures out that it is a work of Brahma. He has stolen away all my calves. So then the Lord comes back to see his cowherd boys. And when he comes, to his surprise, he finds even they are also missing. So Brahma has stolen away both the calves as well as the cowherd boys. So the Lord immediately understands this. So this is called as Brahma Vimohana Leela. So in order to bewilder Brahma, it is explained there that actually Brahma's powers were like glowworm in the daytime. In night time, glowworm can show some of its power with some kind of light, isn't it? But in daytime, it has no value. Another example is given. His powers were just like the shining of the snow in the night time. So either it is like glowworm in the daytime or snow shining in the night time. Snow, when there is sunshine, it can give you some good reflection. But when there is no light, where this snow will shine? So that was his power. Brahma's power in front of the power of the Supreme Lord. So Krishna immediately expanded him. The Supreme Lord immediately expanded himself into as many missing cowherd boys, as many missing these calves, and exactly the same characteristic, because every living entity is unique. The kind of dress they were wearing, the characteristics they had, everything is unique. And the Supreme Lord, exactly in their forms, in their characteristic, the Supreme Lord expanded. See, mystics can also do some kind of mysticism, they can also expand. But the person will be the same. I cannot be you. That is not possible. I can make my face, my looks like you, but I cannot be you. Isn't it? So even mystics cannot do this. They can cheat by their bodily feature making somebody. That happens even in Vaikuntha. Even the devotees are given the same form like Narayana. But the Supreme Lord is unique, isn't it? But see the uniqueness of the Supreme Lord. That Supreme Lord became like his calves and the cowherd boys. This was very, very bewildering to Brahma. So he went for a moment, just for a moment, to see the fun. Bhagavatam explains he was also afraid. He knew the power of the Supreme Lord. he knew that he was playing with fire. So with fire you cannot play for a very long time, you will get burnt. So he also knew this. So he did not wait for a long time, just for a moment. But that moment was like 1 year on this earth. So when he came back, to his surprise, he was thinking that I had stolen them all away. And they're all under my spell, they're already sleeping. And then he's seeing that actually they're sleeping. Then who are these? So he was completely bewildered to see that. So then, not understanding anything, completely being bewildered, he just surrenders, falls flat, comes down from his Hamsa Vahana and falls flat, and then offers prayers to the Supreme Lord. The very first thing he says, that people think I am very learned, people think me to be the creator of this universe, but factually speaking, I cannot understand you. Even though I may be considered to be, that Saraswati is under my subjugation, but still I fail to understand you. And then he says that in your feature of this pastime as a cowherd boy, it is much more bewildering. Because from external it looks like that you're a village boy holding some food in your hand, tending cows, as if you don't have even formal education, isn't it? But if I fail to understand you, what about others? I am considered to be very learned, isn't it? He is considered to be the supreme person of this universe. He is considered to be the creator of this universe. He is considered to be the one who gives knowledge to all other in this universe, isn't it? So he says that if I fail to understand, how it is possible that others can understand? So he says there is only one process to understand you, is pure devotional service. So that famous verse he chants, Jnane prayase udapasya namanta eva. Just give up this process of trying to understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead with jnana, with your speculative knowledge. Become humble and meek. Then sanmukhritam bhavadiyavartam. Hear humbly and attentively from the mouth of pure devotees of the Lord. Then it is possible, ajito jitopi, that you will be able to conquer the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is called as Ajita. Then he says that finally, he comes to the point of asking some benedictions from the Supreme Lord. He says, my dear Lord, I do not want in another life to be proud like this with my position of Brahma. I don't like this position at all. Better if I can become even an animal in Vrindavan. I think at least you can satisfy these desires of mine, that in some life, in some future life of mine, I am not even willing to be liberated from this material world. And not that human form of life. Generally we find that even devatas want, to come to this earthly planet to get a human form of life. But he is ready. He is saying that any form of life, even grass in Vrindavan, he says, because I have seen with my own eyes. 1 year when they were all sleeping, at that time, you expanded yourself. You gave this chance even to all other gopis that they can feed you milk. See, you satisfied their desires. 1 year, not only to Mother Yashoda, all the gopis, these elderly gopis, they had a chance to feed Krishna their breast milk. And all these cows, you became the calves also for all the cows. So they also had chance. And he's saying, we all demigods, We offer through sacrifice so many different kinds of preparations, but we do not know whether you accept them or not. But here we are seeing, with love, you are accepting the milk offered by cows, milk offered by these gopis. You very nicely accepted them. For 1 year you have been taking, isn't it? So they are much more fortunate. So if you want to give me some kind of birth, please give me birth in Vrindavan Dham. And later on he says, my dear Lord, if you feel that this is too much I am asking for, give me some residence just outside Vrindavan, just outside of Vrajabhumi, so that sometimes, at least when these Vrajavasis go out of their place, at least that time I will get their blessings. I can be stepped by them. Let me become a grass even outside of Vrajadham. So sometime when for some work they are going out, I can get their blessings. And then he is saying that no one can understand the fortune of Nanda Maharaj, Yashoda and these gopis in Vrindavan. He is saying that we are considered to be the controllers of the senses. The different devatas, we all know that devatas are considered to be controlling our different senses. So we may be happy with that position, but the devotees of the Lord, their senses are completely under your control, because their senses are completely surrendered unto you. You see? And in that, when they're engaging their senses completely in your service, the kind of happiness they derive, no one can describe that kind of happiness. So that we find that the Supreme Lord personally descends to taste that kind of happiness which the devotees enjoy by serving the Supreme Lord with their senses. That is the kind that it obliges the Supreme Lord even to come to see how the devotees taste that bliss of serving the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So actually that is what Prabhupada is saying, that these holy places like Vrindavan, Mathura, Prabhupada is saying that I got a chance to stay there where I had a chance. We know that Prabhupada stayed for a long time before going to the Western countries to preach. He was staying in Vrindavan and especially in Radha Damodar temple. Isn't it? So Prabhupada was staying here. So Prabhupada is saying that this is the glory of Vrindavan Dham. This is the glory of holy places. They are filled with vibrations of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So those staying in Vrindavan, be very cautious. Do not take it for granted. I am staying in Vrindavan. It should not be like, you are staying very near to the railway station and you will be the one who will miss the train. That should not happen. So we have to be very, very cautious about that and understand the glories of the place where somehow or other by the mercy of the Lord you have got a chance to reside in Vrindavan Dham. And that glories you can always keep in your heart only when you hear about it. It's very, very important. It is said, Prabhupada is saying in this purport in the end, the Lord resides in a place where his devotees are glorifying him. So until and unless we hear sufficiently, we hear very, very attentively with Shraddha, then slowly we will lose taste and we will fail to understand the glories of this Vrindavan Dham. Of course, Vrindavan Dham, Prabhupada explains, is so glorious that even if we forget the Supreme Lord and we become engaged in different activities, still Krishna will give us a chance to be born as some animal in this Vrindavan and maybe the next life. But why do you want to wait for next life? Isn't it? So, this is the glory which Prabhupada is describing in these purports about such a places, holy places like Vrindavan, where the atmosphere is filled with the vibrations of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, where if you want to take advantage of this human form of life, there is no other place like Vrindavan where you can become Krishna conscious. Prabhupada is saying in the purport that right early in the morning, everywhere, practically in Vrindavan, even today, even though today Vrindavan may not be like earlier Vrindavan, where the atmosphere was much more, far better. So many other commercial activities are going on, but still Prabhupada is saying, somehow or other, even today, this process is going on that there are so many temples in Vrindavan, and practically everywhere, right early from the morning up to night, only glorification of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is happening. And this is what Vidura is requesting Uddhava, that please describe the glories of the Supreme Lord, who is called as, what is that word? Tirtha Kirtehe. Granthra Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.